How's it, guys? So I'm just doing a late afternoon herd check, as I often do, and I find this time of the day just before the sun sets to be nice and calm, peaceful. The animals are usually grazing contently, and it's a good time just to observe them. Now, I spoke the other day about the powers of observation, and one of my previous videos I spoke about stockmanship and the value of stockmanship. And these are things that I'm forever working on and trying to improve on. So I saw something earlier, and unfortunately I was unable to capture it on camera because it was over too quickly. But I want to talk about herd instinct in cattle. Now, for the most part, herd instinct, when I thought about it in the past, I thought it was the ability or the tendency of cattle to graze closely to each other, and that the value of that would be A, it's more difficult to steal them, so it helps you with theft, and B, that the animals would protect each other better, especially when there are calves around. But what I saw today had me questioning my whole idea or thoughts around this topic. And just quickly, before I continue, the neighbor's cattle are grazing next door. There's their bull. Bastian's walking with a very stiff neck up and down the fence, trying to intimidate the old boy. And as cocky as Bastian is, I don't think he's quite there yet. This bull is quite a bit bigger. He's a lot more stocky, has more weight to him. So fortunately there's a fence between them, or at least two fences actually. Interesting to see how they act towards each other and how they interact. Anyway, coming back to my original topic, herd instinct. So implication to me previously was the ability of animals to stick together. However, there's something I saw today, and I've seen it once or twice before, and I've started taking serious notes on that, because I think it's way more than just that. I think it's a bond that exists between the animals, and some animals have a stronger bond than others. Now, I saw Bella earlier grooming one of the other Nguni heifers, and where she was grooming her was in between the back legs, in the folds, typically where they can't reach themselves to remove and dislodge ticks. So Bella, who's usually a feisty cow and doesn't normally allow other animals to come within her personal space, calmly walked up to that red heifer over there and started grooming her in the folds between her back legs. And basically what she was doing is she was removing the ticks that heifer couldn't reach. Now, I've seen this once or twice before between some of the animals, and when I say some of the animals, mostly the Ngunis, but I didn't really think much of it at that point in time. We often see a lot of things and we take it at face value, and we don't think further as to why these actions or these things are happening. So herd instinct seems to be a bond, not just an instinct to graze together, but a bond between the animals. And ironically, when I came in now, I find the other two Ngunis, or found the other two Ngunis, Buhle and Mbali, walking up and down the fence on the other side because they actually want to come back to these animals. Their herd is over here. The animals they've bonded with are over here. So let that be a lesson to me. I split them, not taking into consideration how it might affect the dynamics within the herd. I'll keep an eye on them, and if I see that it affects their grazing and their intake, I'd rather open them up to this herd than force them to stay on the other side. Anyway, so it's a bond between the animals, and it's a bond that I don't think we fully understand as yet. Now, I have these Cimbras, Generally speaking, I would say they don't have the best herd instinct. Some of them have a strong instinct, many of them don't. And why do I say that? Because you often find them grazing the furthest away from the main herd. And when I say them, I'm referring to certain individuals within my herd. Now, whether they're more independent, or whether they just don't fit in like many human beings, or whether they don't have that strong instinct, I don't know. What I do know is that herd instinct probably plays a bigger role than what we realize. And the best herd instinct I've seen has been between Boran cattle that we got from Gideon Oosthuizen. And it's interesting to see how the progeny on Simbra animals automatically had that inbred instinct. Now, this is something I think that is more prevalent or stronger within the indigenous breeds. I'm saying this loosely. It's just a feeling that I have based on observations I've made. But I think the indigenous breeds still have a stronger herd instinct than what the contemporary or more traditional European type breeds have. And I think that is because of the effect of environment. Indigenous breeds, besides the fact that for the most part they developed under very difficult, dangerous, trying conditions, they are still for the most part relatively unimproved. Now, this is a very generic point that I'm making. It's not to say it's true for each and every Nguni herd, or that it's true for each and every Thuli herd or Boran herd for that matter. But generally speaking, it is my opinion that they have a much stronger herd instinct than what our normal, traditional European type breeds have. But why is herd instinct important? Well, as I said, they have a tendency to groom each other. This is what I saw. So if animals are removing ticks from each other, it means that you have left less ticks that can potentially affect your cows. The other thing is they make up nurseries and creches. Now, I've split the herd, but prior to that, usually one of the mothers would always stick around and babysit the little ones. Of course, at my previous employer, we had a time where there were a whole load of calves and not one of the mothers was babysitting the little ones. And yet one of the Simbra heifers had the tendency to stay behind and look after the little ones. This is a natural instinct. This is a natural response. Not all females have this. Not all cows have this. But this is something that I feel is a good indication as to the quality of the mothering instincts of certain animals. I can hear the bulls in the background are getting excited. There goes Basjan. He heard the other bull and now he's storming off to go and make sure that the other bull's not encroaching on his ladies. But I believe that if you find animals that show these traits, especially heifers and cows, because it's a mothering instinct, if you find animals that groom each other, clean each other, that babysit the calves even though they don't have calves or might not have calved yet, these are animals worth watching. Because these are the animals that will have the mothering instincts you're looking for going forward. Now, as they run off, I'll slowly walk over towards them. But I want to mention this. Excuse me. On the previous farm I was at, and look at that beautiful sunset. Sorry, I always do this. Just look at that beautiful sunset. Aren't we blessed? We live in a country with a lot of challenges. There's a lot of divide between the people living here. And we need to look for the positive. And the positive can be something as simple as a beautiful sunset like that. Maybe discussions held on a forum like YouTube regarding cattle or whatever the case may be. We need to find common ground or else the politicians will ruin us. Anyway, coming back. So on the previous farm where I was at, there was a cow that calved one day and she would drop her calf graze miles and miles away from the baby, leave it totally by itself, and only late afternoon, early evening, go back so that the little one could suckle. There was nothing wrong with the calf. In fact, due to this, the calf actually learned to start suckling from other cows as well. So she ended up being a beautiful little heifer who was suckling from multiple mothers. So her mother didn't have a very good herd instinct. Her mother didn't have very good maternal instincts. Observing your animals and looking for small things like this, to me, is what cattle farming is all about. We can apply all the book knowledge, we can apply all the computer programs that we want, but if you don't take the time, hey, I just want to get him away from my vehicle, but if you don't take the time to observe your animals and see their behavior and learn from their behavior, I think you're missing out on a huge opportunity to learn about your animals and to learn about cattle in general. So yeah, that's just a quick ramble. I know I'm rambling on a bit about behavior. Hey, Bastian. No, man. Hey, man. Get away here. Goodness, you're going to damage my vehicle. So yeah, guys, now I've lost my train of thought, of course. But every day is an opportunity to learn something new. You're not going to learn something every day. But as I said in one of my previous videos, it's the small things that you can't learn from a book, that only the old grey-beard herdsmen know, or the people who spend hours every day watching animals and their behaviors. In fact, I think we've lost touch with our cattle. I think we've lost touch with how they are, and there's a lot of knowledge that's being lost because we don't spend time with our animals anymore, and we can't teach our kids that which we do not know. So that's it, guys. I don't know if this video will actually make it to YouTube. I'll just check it out again. Maybe I've just spent a lot of time talking nonsense, but for what it's worth, I thought I'd just share that. And yeah, hope you guys have a good one. And judging by the build-up of the weather, we might actually get some rain again, for which we'll always be grateful. Anyway, guys, stay blessed and have a good one. Cheers.